What's going on, 49er fans? It is Peter Lucas. This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast, and it's finally over. That's all I can say about the 49ers 2024 season is like 2024. It is finally over. We don't have to watch this team underperform, and I know what everybody's going to say. Oh, they had a bunch of backups out there. But, I mean, honestly, when they didn't have backups out there, they underperformed. They played terrible all season long. They finished season six. What was it? 6-11. 6-11. It is what it is. It is what it is, and we're gonna have to move on to next season. But yeah, I saw something on Twitter today. Oh, before I get to it, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's been a long time since I've seen you guys. Welcome. Welcome to the pity party. But before we get to any of it, we got to hit the music.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I like to know.
are you ready for start time?
And once again, it is Peter Lucas. This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. Make sure you hit the like. Make sure that you hit the subscribe. Make sure that you hit the bell so you get the notifications for when I go live. And yeah, like I said earlier, it's finally over. There is nothing really to be said about this season. And we can talk about this game, but it was uneventful. The Ricky Pearsall made a nice play, a couple of nice plays and then he had one bounce off his hands for an interception. I mean, there was just so much. It was the typical 49er football game. I don't know how people even noticed that they had the backups out there. It was the same thing happened when the starters were out there. Constant penalties, constant just not good execution, bad play calls. I mean, it was just bad all the way around. They couldn't get the 49ers could not get out of their own way. They lose to the Cardinals 47-24. The defense didn't even try to show up today. Now, granted, not all of the starters were out there. On the defensive side, but it didn't really matter. Like, honestly, it was bad all the way around. Like, the defense was just non-existent. They couldn't get any pressure really on the quarterback. They couldn't get any turnovers. It was just bad all the way around. Same stuff, different game. And let's see. We're just gonna get this out of the way and just talk about the box score and give you the box score stats for all the bean counters out there. And Josh Dobbs, 29 of 43. If I had told you before this game that Josh Dobbs was going to throw the ball 43 times, would you have believed me? Probably not. 326 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a fumble. 86 rating. He got sacked twice. Kyler Murray went 25 of 35, 242, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, 0 sacks, 128.5 rating. That kind of just tells the story of the game. It really does. Because the 49ers struggled with everything. Special teams, go down the list. Special teams, defense, offense, whatever it is, there were no pluses in this game. I would say that one of the pluses was, and early on in the game, was Juwan Jennings. He was out there balling, and until the refs decided to say that he's not allowed to block, I don't get it. Like, we're penalizing the guy for blocking, and because the other team got mad that he was blocking them, they retaliated, but only against the 49ers. Only against the 49ers do the refs decide that the retaliator is gets thought of too. And I don't even understand what Juwan Jennings was penalized for. He was protecting himself after being thrown to the ground because he blocked somebody, and being his face mask grabbed on and yanked around. Nobody, like, he didn't throw any punches. It was pretty silly. Like, we're just basically pandering to guys that couldn't keep their head on straight on the Cardinals. And I mean, it is what it is. The 49ers probably still would have lost anyway. It didn't really, but that play was just, I mean, that call by the refs was just silly, and it kind of speaks to today's NFL. I mean, realistically speaking, they don't want really any toughness in the game anymore. It's all about scoring points and betting now. So it is what it is. We're the 49ers are trying to play the game in a they were trying to play the game in an old format, basically. Like, they were trying to play it like actual football, and people don't want to play football anymore. So it is what it is. Like, but I saw some people on Twitter saying that Juwan Jennings was being undisciplined. But then if he had missed his block, but then if he hadn't blocked the guy, then they would have complained because he wasn't blocking, he wasn't going all out, he wasn't looking like Juwan Jennings. You can't have it both ways. He was going all out, giving his all, unlike the defense. Fred Warner was getting torched all over the field. Now, I get it. He's dealing with injuries. I get it. But he was getting torched. The defense was getting torched all over the field. And it was brutal. It was brutal. And it was just brutal to watch this team just kind of fade away in, like, this season, just fade away into, I don't even want to say that it looked like they didn't care, because it did look like they were trying. Offensive line was abysmal again today. Penalties all over the place. McKivitz acted like he didn't care, and then he got hurt. It was just it was bad. It was bad. So let's get to some of these other statistics. Patrick Taylor had 17 carries, 109 yards. He was the one bright spot on the offense. No touchdowns. Josh Dobbs had 8 carries, 17 yards, and 1 touchdown. He almost didn't get in, but yeah, he ended up getting another touchdown. And then for Arizona, Tony Jones had 4 carries, 55 yards, and a long touchdown. Michael Carter had 17 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown. Like, for the most part, and it was pretty much a story of this year for the 49ers defense. They were doing okay against the run for the most part. They were getting gashed in passing defense today, which is abnormal. But yeah, it was like it was the opposite. And then all of a sudden they just would let go a big run. Anyway. So then we get the receiving. Ricky Pearsall ended up being was it the top guy? Well, he had 6 receptions, 16 off of 8 targets, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. Conley had 4 catches, 59 yards off of 4 targets. Juwan Jennings, even though he left before the second half, he ended up with having the most catches, 7 catches, 52 yards off of 10 targets, no touchdowns. Kyle Juszczyk had a long touchdown. Jacob Cowing had a couple of catches for the Arizona. Trey McBride was just destroying the 49ers. It seemed like he had so many more yards than what he actually had. He had 7 catches, 65 yards, 1 touchdown. He had 11 targets, though. I mean, they just would not stop going. He was their entire offense, and it felt like. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. had 5 catches with 63 yards with a touchdown off of 6 targets. Dortch torched the 49ers today. 4 catches, 47 yards, 2 touchdowns. Zay Jones had 4 catches. It was just bad. And then as far as San Francisco and fumbles, Joshua Dobbs had 2 fumbles. Eric Saubert had a fumble. I think only one of them the 49ers lost. But then Greg Dortch fumbled, but they got that one back. Like I said, 49ers had no sacks today. They had a couple of tackles for loss, but who cares? They got torched 47-24, and but it's hard to take any positives on the defensive end from this game. I don't think there are any. I'll be honest. There was no positives. Even when it looked like they were doing better against the run, then they would give up a huge run, or they would give up a big pass. It was just bad all the way around. They're on Arizona's side. They had Zaven Collins had a sack, Aquara had a sack, and then they had a couple of interceptions. Murphy Bunting had an interception that should have been. That was, in my opinion, that was pass interference. He had his hands on the guy the whole time, but I might be wrong. And then Catrell Clark had an interception off of Ricky Pearsall's hands that touched the ground, but I guess you could say that he controlled it. I don't think it mattered at that point. The 49ers were done. So is what it is. 49ers lose. But now we get a chance to look forward. It's all over now. Now we get a chance to look forward to next season, and hopefully what Kyle said, it comes true that this will be the first time he's gotten extended time to build into the offseason. It'll give the players an extended chance to rest their bodies, and hopefully they come back next season with able to stay healthy. Number one, I see a lot of people on thinking that when teams lose, they just automatically, everybody just goes off the rails. Kyle's got to be fired. We've talked about this. Kyle's got to be fired. Brock Purdy, don't pay him. What else? Like they're talking about already about not bringing Debo back. They better not run it back, and all these things. Okay, but you have to look at the situation. You have to understand who Kyle is. You could say all these things. You could say all of those things, and they're not going to mean anything. York already came out and said Kyle's not going anywhere. Brock is probably going to get paid. So you can be upset, and you could say all these things, and all these people that said that even Debo isn't going to be back. I mean, we know that he should not have been back after this season, but they restructured him, which told you right there that they wanted him here for the long haul. It doesn't matter what happened this season, because guess what? They're going to chalk this season up to everybody stunk, and that he was just a part of that. So he's gonna be back. I would be shocked if Debo Samuel was not back on the squad. And so I think people just have to calm down, look at the situation. There doesn't have to be major changes to this team. This comes down to really Kyle deciding what he wants this team to be, because this team doesn't have an identity. We're all the way through the whole season. This team does not have an identity. You've got all these players that I would say are pretty decent, are pretty good to decent players, but there's no identity. There's nothing for them to hold their hand to hang their hat on. And this is what we do well. Nothing. Because they can't do anything consistently. And Kyle he talks all the time about complementary football. Complementary football, and he wants good football players that can just do multiple things. Okay, well, sometimes that makes you schizophrenic, which is exactly what happened this season. The 49ers were schizophrenic. They couldn't decide if they wanted to be a running team or a passing team. They couldn't decide if they wanted to be a physical team or a finesse team. They don't have the players to do either one well. Because they have some players that would be good in a finesse system. They've got some players that would be good in a tough, hard-nosed state. They've still got those players that were good in the toughness. I'm calling it the toughness era of the 49er offense with Kyle Shanahan. And he's gonna have to make a decision of what he wants to do. No team is good being wishy-washy. You can't. No matter how smart he thinks he is. I've never seen a team in the league that can do both. That can be tough and finesse at the same time. Like, you just can't. You can't, because guys' skill sets don't match up. Like, you've got Debo, who's a weapon, tough guy, likes to break tackles. That's how he gets his yardage. Okay, that's not going to work because he's not in a finesse system, because he doesn't run routes. He doesn't run routes. He doesn't block. He's not surgical like with anything. But guess what? He's one of Kyle's favorite guys. Which should have told you all then when they re-upped him. He's going to be here. Whether y'all like it or not, he's going to be here. But everybody said after the Javon Hargrave restructure that they were setting it up to release Javon Hargrave. They're setting it up to release Debo. That they can afford to. I mean, have you seen those cap hits? Like, I can't see it. I can't see it happening. I just can't. I just can't see it happening. And I might be wrong. I'm not going to tie my wagon to these takes, because the reality is we don't know what the 49ers, you never know what the 49ers are going to do. They don't do anything conventional. There is no player in the draft that you can say, oh, this is the guy they're going to take. This is the guy. Even if he's sitting right there, perfect fit for what they do, perfect developmental piece for what they do, they're going to pick some off-the-wall pick, like a kicker in the third round. It's not going to make any sense. And so don't get frustrated. I mean, you can get frustrated. I mean, do you. But, I mean, the reality is we're going to get into the offseason. People, this is I'm going to tell you guys exactly what's going to happen. Because, and I'm going to ruin people's thought process on this offseason. Look, this is what's going to happen. We're going to get into free agency. They're not going to do what you want them to do. They might bring in one player. I would say a majority of these guys are going to come back. They're going to bring a majority of them back. Purdy, I think, is going to get re-signed. Maybe not for – I think he might get 60. But I think he's going to be back. And then Debo still. I think a majority of them are going to still be. They're going to run it back again, and they're going to do minimal in free agency. We're stuck with Leonard Floyd. We got him for another year. I mean, he's a Pro Bowl alternate. Like, we're stuck with him. I hope that we're able to keep Gross Matos. I liked him, but they need to completely redo the interior of their defensive line. They completely went away from what made them good in the middle of their defensive line. They went away from the big bodies to stuff up the run, and I would like to see some more of Evan Ingram, but I would like to see them do away with it's not that Malik Collins is bad. I don't think they're going to get rid of Javon Hargrave. They might release him, which would be fine with me. But they might release him because his cap hit isn't so bad. But if they release him and let's say you keep on a Malik Collins, I would like to see them bring some bigger bodies, but that's not their MO. That's not their MO. And they're definitely not going to draft a guy like that. Like, they tried that already and it failed miserably. So what's going to end up happening is they're going to do the same thing they did last year. They're going to bring the guys back. They're going to say, talk about how healthy they are and everybody looks great. And they're going to bring in some guys. And then they're going to get into the draft. They're going to not draft what you guys want. They're not going to draft. I'm calling it right now. They're not going to draft a tackle with their first round pick. They're not going to draft a tackle with their first round pick. They're not going to invest in the trenches. They're just going to stick Trent Williams out there for at 38 years old, 38 years old, and say, hey. And they'll probably lose Jalen Moore, who I've told everybody that he stinks for years, but he's finally looked half decent, but he's not going to be here next year because it's on tape now that he was half decent. So he's probably going to somebody's going to pay him, and the 49ers ain't going to be that team. So now you're going to have they'll probably get one to two offensive linemen in this draft and probably bring some more undrafted guys in. But they'll be in the third or fourth, fifth round level. And then they're going to bring in more weapons. They might bring in some defensive guys. I would like to see them get a safety with speed and stop bringing in we've got three strong safeties right now. I don't care what anybody says about safeties being interchangeable. And no, we have no speed at safety. We have none. We don't have any guys that can really cover at the safety spot. So I'd like to see some speed at safety. I would like to see, but even then, they're going to be a rookie. I highly doubt they're going to bring somebody in as a free agent. And because they've got three guys right now that they're pretty much invested in. Do they re-sign Hufanga? I think that they're going to be pressured to re-sign him because Jair Brown isn't good. He's just not good in coverage. He's not bad as a strong safety, but that's not the way that they're going to use him. That's not the way that they want to use him. They want to use him as a multiple, you can just kind of interchange. And we've seen it. It doesn't work. But they're going to say it was health related or something. It's going to be some excuse as to what it is. And it'll be Nick Sorensen's second year in the squad. Is Nick Sorensen back? I can tell myself all the excuse. I can hear all the excuses coming out of Kyle Shanahan's mouth. I'm really interested. We're going to hear from Kyle Shanahan and some of the players in a minute. I'm really interested to hear what he has to say after this game, just because I'm just interested to hear how he feels about this offseason that he's about to get into. Can he wrap his head around the fact that his passing game is not good enough in the NFL? He is a glorified running game coordinator. That's really what he is at this point. That's what it looks like. And he's too scared to run the ball at this point. So I'm hoping there's a lot of things that I would love to see happen, but I just don't think any of it's gonna happen. I don't think he's gonna bring in somebody to help him with the passing game. I think his ego is too big for that. And I think that he's gonna say he doesn't need it. He needs health. He needs health from his weapons. But that's never been the NFL. I don't understand like how you sit there and wish for something and plan for something that has never worked in the NFL. Like how many teams in the NFL in NFL history have won Super Bowls with no offensive line? With not a solid, at least solid to good offensive line. There's not many. Of course, there's 1 to 2 one-offs. But if you're counting on being a one-off, I mean, then you're not planning for longevity. So at some point, he has to, like, I feel like the 49ers need to get back to what they said they wanted to do from the beginning, which is invest in the trenches, get this offensive line right, get this defensive line right. I think that they need to. I don't think that the scheme is bad necessarily for the defense. I think that the margin for error is just razor thin for that scheme that they run. And if they don't have the players to run it, it's not going to look good. But I think a lot would be solved by them just fixing the defensive line, the interior of the defensive line. And then because I don't think that the secondary was too bad this season. I think that once they especially once they got Hufanga and Mustafa playing together, I don't think it was so bad. Now everybody's going to be like, "Well, you just said that you need speed at safety." I would like to see some speed at safety. I think it would look a lot better if they could just get somebody that could cover and that wasn't so stiff like Jair Brown. He's not necessarily slow. He's really stiff. And yeah, so I would like to see that. But then on the offensive side, Kyle just has to decide what he wants to do. If they're gonna be a drop back passing team, you have to overhaul the passing game. The passing game that you're rolling out here isn't working. It's not working. So you're gonna have to do something else. And people are going to sit there and say, "Oh, well, you don't know more than Kyle." I mean, I know that I'm looking at the game and they're losing and it's not working, and it wasn't working in the playoffs last year when they were healthy. So I don't want to hear that it wasn't even the playoffs. It was during the season last season. That same Minnesota team beat this 49er team because they could not score points. And the more excuses you want to make, the longer it's going to take to fix this team. So that's the way I look at it. If you want to keep making excuses, okay, it'll take another year. It's going to be another year of wishy-washy football. Because that's what I'm calling this. That's the identity of this team this year. Wishy-washy football. They're not tough. They're not finesse. They're just wishy-washy. They got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So it is what it is. Oh yeah, my boy Nate in the building. Appreciate you coming through, fam. He says, "Did you all enjoy watching Garoppolo choking a Rams uniform?" That was one plus of today. Is that Garoppolo after opening his mouth about the 49ers looking like he did. Like, shut up. The 49ers carried you for years. That defense carried you for years. The running game carried you for years. and you're going to sit there and open your mouth. Like, come on, dog. You're not even a starter. You're not even a starter anymore. I mean, it baffles me sometimes that some of these guys with their egos, but it is what it is. I'm sure Nate feels some kind of way. I know he felt some kind of way about having Garoppolo on his team to begin with. I don't think anybody wants that guy on their team. I'm surprised any team is bringing him in for any reason. Like, I could take somebody off of anybody's practice squad today, and it would be, I mean, they're giving you the same thing that Garoppolo is going to give you. But it is what it is. Let's hear from Kyle and the 49ers. Let's see. It's coming, I promise.
From the game, Isaac Guerrero had a knee and an ankle. Not sure yet. Most likely an MCL, but we're gonna have to find out for sure tomorrow. Malik Mustafa cut his knee up and bruised his knee. He was out, didn't return. Huff had a concussion, didn't return. Renardo Green, groin, did not return. Conley had an elbow, he returned. Colton McKivitz, ankle, did not return. As far as like,
I got to talk about Guerrendo's injury. That looked gruesome, and I hate to talk about a guy that just got hurt because nobody deserves the cruelty that is the NFL sometimes with the injuries. But when you don't run the right way, and we've seen it from Guerrero really all season. Like, he busted a few long runs and he looked good at moments, but for the most part, he just didn't look like he's a change of pace guy. He's not a guy that you're just going to go to on a regular basis. And his pad level's too high. I mean, it's just, I'm not saying it's his fault he got injured by any stretch of the imagination. Like, it's just dumb luck, like that he got hurt. But I felt like he's been hurt for a majority of his career already. And that was before he got to the Niners. He wasn't a starter at his last stop after transferring. And I think that speaks to that maybe he's just not a starter guy. So thinking that you're going to just ride him, like, I think this comes down to what I'm talking about with Kyle, that he doesn't recognize things that are right in front of his face sometimes. Ricky Pearsall has shown flashes this season, but he doesn't scheme for, like, play for specific guys. He thinks he's just going to run a play and the answer's in the play all the time. The same thing with running backs. He just thinks he can plug any running back into a system and they're just going to be good, which we saw Patrick Taylor today. I mean, it's not that he's wrong, but you have to recognize your personnel. You have to understand who you've got out there. Guerrero, in my opinion, is not he's never going to be a workhorse back. And I said at the beginning, I wanted them to draft him because I thought he'd be a great change of pace, a great speed guy to be a change up to CMC, and maybe give CMC some rest. Like, these guys aren't meant to be workhorse, but Kyle does not believe in, he doesn't even believe in in running the ball consistently anymore. So him choosing a guy to be a workhorse is not surprising, But hopefully he goes into this offseason, like thinks about it and has an epiphany that maybe he needs to change the way he's thinking of, because in today's NFL, there's a reason why you don't see a lot of workhorse backs anymore. You don't see, even Jahmyr Gibbs is a monster. They have somebody spelling him. He's not going to get on the regular. He wasn't getting 30 plus carries because it's not going to happen. Like he's lucky to get 20 because the data is there. So it is what it is. Let's just get back to Kyle.
It's like everything, guys. I know you guys got a job to do. Like anything for the off season, like coaches, players, any of that stuff. Like I got a job to do too. I got to finish this out the right way with our team and stuff tomorrow. So any of that stuff, I'll answer late in the week for you guys. Besides that, go ahead. Because we were down 2 scores.
I'm going to stop him again because even in one score games, you go away from the run. So that's not an excuse. Then it's about the look. Anyway, let me let him dig his grave.
I'm not sure. I mean, there he was competing. I know Juwan blocks to the whistle every single play. I know you usually get ejected for throwing a punch or something. I didn't see one. They didn't tell me that he threw a punch, so something we're going to have to find out.
He was having a pretty animated discussion with you before he left the field. He was just saying that, what was he saying?
It wasn't animated. It was just, I was asking him if he ever threw a punch, and he was adamant that he didn't. I was like, that's what I saw, so I was just surprised he got ejected.
So the official didn't give you an explanation?
No. No.
Of course they didn't. Because they knew they were just trying to control the game.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, especially when you go out on a cart. I think that messed with everyone a little bit, but we're still holding out hope that it's good news. Or good news is in comparison to going off on a cart and everything, hoping it's not ACL. That Patrick stepped it up and ran really well today and played really good.
How do you process falling so far short of your hopes and expectations?
We've been processing it all year. So we've been trying to get there. You don't really accept that you're not going to get there until you get eliminated from the playoffs. So we've had to deal with this for the last 3 weeks. So we've been processing it, ready to finish this up, trying to finish it with a win. Didn't get that done today, but excited to get to this offseason and figure out how to not be in this situation again.
You guys gave up 47 points and again didn't get an interception. Is there something about this game that kind of exemplified the defensive struggles all year?
I thought we started off putting them in tough situations with the turnover, with the fake punt, the missed field goal. But then by the second half, it looked like they wore us down and got it going, and we couldn't get them off the field.
Penalties were a huge issue again today. Is there anything you see that links all these mistakes together?
No, I haven't been a part of too many games that's 12-0, and I think they got one there when they had 12 guys on the field at the end, and we'll look in all of them. But I didn't see any
for real?
thing. Yeah, we're going to see how the game went, and we knew we weren't going to play him all of it, and he ended up resting so much that we don't want to put him there in the second half. I thought Dobbs did a really good job, minus the turnovers. You take out those turnovers, and I think he had a hell of a game.
What did you think of the way Ricky finished the season these past 2 weeks?
Just trying to get better each week. I'll see when I get on the plane exactly how he did this game, but I think Ricky, just especially what he went through before the year started, I'm talking before his gunshot, and then getting the gunshot, coming back, and just being able to have a rookie season where he did help us out, got a chance to play almost half the year, and got better as it went. So I was real proud of Ricky's year.
Do you have exit interviews tomorrow for the players?
Yeah.
And do you already have kind of your list of goals or what you want to see from them in the offseason? How do you approach that with the guys you meet with?
No, I just talk to them, see what they want to say to me. I'll tell them how I felt about them. It's not something that you sit and plan out. You've been working to finish the season up, and you give the guys a chance to talk tomorrow. But, when you sit and you talk to 100 people in one day, I also don't plan on that being the final deal. there's lots of conversations that have to be made and a lot of people I got to talk to, and I'm not going to get that all done tomorrow, which is why I'm glad we have cell phones and glad we can communicate with each other. All right, guys. Thanks.
Wow, they let him off light because that was an embarrassing loss. I know it's the last game of the season, but let's just be real. That was an embarrassing loss. Him to talk about the getting away with a 12-man on the field penalty, like at the end of the game after you're down 47-24. I mean, really? But I do agree with him about the Jennings stuff. No punches were thrown. He blocked the guy. And when you get tangled up with a guy, and just because he's taking exception to getting the block, that guy doesn't get ejected. That is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen. One of the most ridiculous things that I've ever seen in the NFL. The NFL has just gotten so ticky-tack now that it's the referees were blatantly trying to control the game, and that's it. There's no other reason. We're not blaming Jawan Jennings for playing hard and for blocking through the whistle. He gets commended for playing hard, not the other way around. The referees need to catch up and stop rewarding the other team for being sensitive. That's how I feel about that. But let's see if I can find the players. Oh, here we go. Oh, we got Dobbs. I don't know. Do we really want to hear from Dobbs? But yeah, it's that was kind of a brutal. That was such a brutal, and that to see people on Twitter agree with him being ejected, was just silly in my opinion. Niner fans, that's just wild to me. But here we go, Josh Dobbs.
What's up? Yeah. And just go out and play. Just enjoy my time out there, compete. Obviously, get a win. But just play. Go out there and execute the offense, play at a high level, lead the guys around me. Enjoy the opportunity to start a game in the NFL, which is always rare and hard to come by. So, yeah, that was my goals going into the game. And obviously, looking back on the game, it was great to be out there, played well at times. I thought for three quarters we battled. Obviously, the turnovers kind of killed us. Those were the difference in the game. And then third down could have been better in those situations and being able to stay on the field, sustain a couple more drives to get in the end zone. But it was good to be out there, good to compete. Proud of the guys and how they fought. Guys stepping up as different guys went down throughout the game and making plays. It was great to see Patrick get 100 yards as well, and Jacob Cowing and Ricky and the young guys come in, step in, make plays throughout the day. So wish we could have finished definitely on a better note, without a doubt.
Obviously, the goal was to get 7-7 for Jawan.
Mm-hmm.
How disappointing was that to see him get ejected there in the second quarter?
Yeah, I thought it was very frustrating, without a doubt. Jawan's being Jawan, quite frankly, and if you look back at those two plays, their guy's taking off his helmet, and Jawan gets a flag, no clue how that happens. And then the second play, Jawan's getting stomped out on the sideline, and they throw a flag on him and eject him when he's just playing football. So it was pretty frustrating, especially knowing how much it meant for Jawan to be out there, to play hard, be himself, playing in the game, and then obviously get to the milestone of 1,000. It was frustrating to see him go out. I'm proud of the way he fought. All the guys fought. The guys stepped up, had his back. Chris comes right in, doesn't miss a beat. But, yeah, it was frustrating we didn't get there, especially when it was something taken out of our hands.
Did you have an indication that you were getting close to that milestone when all that went down?
I knew he had just caught 2 passes on that drive, right? He caught a couple passes early. I didn't know how close we were at all, but I knew he was coming up on it. And so, as I said, going into the week, I was excited to be out there with him, to play with Jawan. It's been a long time since college, and have the opportunity to get him to that milestone because I know how much it meant to him. So for them to take it out of his hands was frustrating. Yeah, I thought moving the ball throughout the day was good. We were able to execute. play at a high level. I mean, we had a ton of offense. I think we had almost 500 yards of total offense. So we were able to play extremely well, especially with various guys in and out. So I was excited to see that personally and as a team. Obviously, like, it comes down to turnovers at the end of the day, and that's something as I go into offseason to focus on and improve on. But to be out there to compete, to play at a high level was fun, exciting, exhilarating. And so it's just continuing to get those reps out there, right? Get the opportunity to stand out there in those moments and be able to learn how to overcome things throughout the game in order to get a dub at the end of the day.
Were you aware that you threw a career high today? Because you kind of threw it out there that you probably.
Yeah, I felt good. I felt good throughout the day. I know we threw for a ton of yards throughout the day. I saw it at the end of the game. I don't really look at the stats throughout the game, but I did feel good out there. I felt comfortable. Felt like I was seeing what the defense was doing, pre-snap, post-snap, being able to take advantage of their looks, hit the big play when it was there, and also check it down and let our guys get some run after catch when they were taking away our deeper throws. So I did feel good out there. Obviously, it's exciting to accomplish a career high, but it's just always finding those rooms for improvement, those ways to get over the hump, and at the end of the day, win football games in the NFL.
Obviously, now, as we stand here, you don't know what your options are going to be in the offseason. But what are kind of the goals? What are the kind of landmarks that you will be looking for as far as where you play next season?
No, I wanna go to a spot where I get a chance to compete, whether it's for the starting job or the 2 role, whatever it is, to be able to push the room, contribute week in and week out, and be a guy that teams are relying on to win on Sundays. I've obviously played 8 years in the league, and what I've learned is the best opportunities that you have to grow and improve are to be standing out on the field in the fire and learning how to win games in the NFL. And I haven't gotten a ton of opportunities to do that. Especially.
I'm going to stop him right there because I would say this about Josh Dobbs. It's no slight on Josh Dobbs. I think he's a backup. He's a backup. He's not a guy that's ever going to be a starter in this league. And I guess maybe some team it might use him for a stopgap maybe at some point. It could happen, but for the most part, I just don't see him as a starter. Like, he's been in a couple of, mostly he's been on bad teams. But he's been on a bunch of teams, and he's just not sticking. So there's got to be something that coaches are seeing that are not and seeing that he's not starter material, which is why they're so comfortable with just letting him go. And he's got some running ability, like he's got some athleticism. He's actually doesn't have that bad of an arm. He has a pretty strong arm, I would say, and but the issue with him really is decision making. And I think in today's NFL, a lot of defenses are built to bend but don't break, and to set you up to kind of lull you to sleep and think that I can push this one in there. I can push this one in there, and then that's when they get you. That's going to be a problem for a guy like him, is because they're going to let him take those check downs, and then the minute he tries to do a little bit more, that's when he's going to try and do too much, and that's when he's going to fumble. That's when he's going to throw a pick. Like I said, he threw for 300 something yards today, but he had two picks and he had a fumble. That's not going to get it done as a starter. If you're a starter having the first time you start and you have 3 turnovers, it is what it is. So
Being in the same offense for throughout the year, obviously this was the first opportunity I've had in my NFL career, and so it's finding an opportunity that I'm going to be in a consistent environment, whether it's here or wherever. Be in a consistent environment, have a consistent coaching staff, and be able to be the best version of myself every single day. So I'll be excited when March comes around. It'll be good to get away for a sec, but I'll be excited to hit the ground running when March comes around, and we'll see where this football journey takes me. Appreciate y'all.
All right, let's see who's next. Nope, it's going to be Fred. Fred had a bad day today, just so we're clear.
Yeah, I mean it's a number of things, and I just know won't be putting those pads on again for a while. So kind of take that moment to kind of sit in it, and yeah, just a moment of reflection. Yeah, absolutely. For as long as I've been here, I've always known, playing dominant defense, and I can't speak to everything else that's gone on with the team, this year, but it just hasn't been good enough, not even close. And to be a part of that, knowing that I'm out there every game and it still isn't good enough, it obviously is a gut punch to my own pride. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm gonna do everything to make it right.
In past years, you guys have had some missteps, but have been able to get back on track. And we're not ever able to do that this season. Do you know why this season we weren't able to do what we've done last year and the year before?
No, it's hard to say right now. It's something I'm gonna have to, think more on. Obviously, I'm fresh off of just trying to win this game, and I'm sure there'll be more time for reflection later.
The lack of turnovers in the last 7 games or whatever, and that's something that's going to get brought up. But does that kind of reflect the problem with the defense? If it's just there's not enough guys making plays and guys in the wrong spots?
Yeah, no, the takeaways, the lack thereof, is what killed us. That you can't win games in this league. I mean, we pride ourselves on taking the ball away and protecting it on offense, and that's the key to winning games. And when you're not doing that, you don't give yourself any type of chance to even, have a chance at winning.
You mentioned in the past that you feel like the answers are here. John and Kyle both said last week that they're excited about just diving into it and trying to figure things out. Have you allowed your mind to go there of what needs to change, where this team needs to go in order for you guys to get back to where you want to be?
Honestly, no. My mind was on trying to win today, and we didn't do that. But like I said, it'll be more time for reflection now going forward and figuring that out.
You personally, you started 17 games this year. Was this the most difficult 17 games to get through, the most difficult full schedule for you?
Every year is different. Obviously, you guys know it was a unique situation this year, but you know, I'm always going to try my hardest to make sure I'm out there for my guys. It's not even a question. There's never a doubt that I'm going to be out there if I can.
Couple more?
Right, obviously, there's a lot that went into what happened on defense. But, Sorensen's gotten scrutiny because he's first year coordinator. I'm sure assessment or any level in him is the guy going.
Yeah, I think the easy thing right now is everybody's going to put the blame on him for how the defense is played, and when you're the guy at the helm, that's what that's what happens. You're going to take the brunt of that, but it's everybody. Everybody's got to take a look in the mirror. I got to take a look in the mirror. Everybody's got to look to see where they could have been better as a group. I think Nick's done a great job all season. It's just we didn't. I think as players, when we're out there, when we have to execute and play the game, we didn't do him any favors. Thanks, guys.
And I think there's something to be said for what he just said, and that people aren't going to care. They want Nick Sorensen's head on a pike. The reality of the situation is that the defense was not good, and it was up and down, just like the rest of the team. It was up and down all season, and they were wishy-washy. And but guys were in and out of the lineup. There was no continuity. There was no consistency. There was constant, no turnovers, no takeaways for them. At a certain point, the water just got shut off for takeaways, and that was the difference in this defense. I think in the beginning they were kind of built as a bend but don't break. They were trying to do the same thing that other teams were doing to them, which is just letting teams go down the field, but then tightening up, and then all of a sudden you take the ball away. And that just wasn't happening. They had opportunities. Balls were hitting them in the hands. Like they would get fumbles, but they're not recovering those fumbles. They're not getting those. They're not converting those interceptions when it hits their hands. So because of that, Nick Sorensen is going to get blamed. I don't necessarily think that it was. I think this game was pretty bad. But before this, I don't necessarily think that he was the problem. That's my personal opinion on it. I think that he had this team in position to make plays throughout the season. They just weren't making the play. The players were just not making the plays, and I love that Fred Warner took some accountability for that, because that's the way I saw it as well. Is that they just weren't making plays. Guys got to look at themselves in the mirror and say, why I was in the position to make the tackle. I was in the position to make the play, to make the turnover. Why did we not go all out to make sure that those things happened? So it can be both too. I don't know, but I kind of err on the side of the guy that had the guys in position. They were in position to make plays. They just couldn't get make the tackle and make the play. So it is what it is. But let's see. Do we have? Oh. That's nice. I think that's going to be it. So, yeah, it is what it is. Like, I think that. Oh my God, Terror Dome in the building. Appreciate you coming through, fam. And let me stop sharing. There we go. Sorensen sucks. Vanilla's, I don't disagree, but at the same time, he had those guys in position. They were in position to make plays. They just didn't make the tackle. Are we going to blame him for them not making the tackle? How many times did they miss tackles? How many times did balls hit them that were they in position to make those plays and they just didn't? Sounds like and he says it sounds like a coaching problem. I mean, it's possible, but when the leader of your team is coming out saying, taking accountability for not making the plays, because he's one of them. He was getting burned today, and granted, he was hurt. We all know he's been hurt. It's been well documented. At the same time, that plays a part of it. The injuries play a part. And yeah, you have to make adjustments, but at the same time, no team is going to be as good if they don't have their best players. And then when you're putting the guys in position to make plays and they're just not making the play, I mean, does it really matter if you need the coach to get you hyped up to play professional football? I would say that it probably wasn't going to work to begin with. I don't think that he had the best situation on the defensive line. I don't think that he definitely didn't have the best situation at linebacker all season long. And they're going to say, oh, well, it was his decision not to play D. Winters. D. Winters made mistakes too. D. Winters missed tackles too. So I don't know at what point, and D. Winters couldn't stay healthy. So at what point do we start looking at the situation and just not looking at it from a standpoint of we've already made up our mind. We've already made up our mind. It's his fault. Like that. And you've got to look at it as the situation as a whole. And give this man like his it doesn't matter who it is. It could have been Sorensen, it could have been D'Amico, it could have been whoever. I don't care who it was. Because D'Amico didn't have that good of a season. Does that mean he's not a good coach? That would be my question. Uh, Wait a minute. Okay, so Terradome says if he doesn't hold him to task and doesn't make the pick to tackle the angle, it's on him. Like, and he says, do the five whys. I'm not saying that it can't be his fault. What I'm saying is that I think it's multifactorial, and that there are a lot of guys out there, a lot of guys that we think are good coaches, that just haven't. I mean, I think everybody would have said Kyle's a good coach before this season. All of a sudden, he's not. Like people have been talking about, he's not a good coach. He doesn't know how to motivate. When we said prior to this season that this team had one of the best cultures in the league, now all of a sudden they don't. And at some point, it's just not your day, I think. And this was not the 49ers year. I don't know if Nick Sorensen is a good defensive coordinator or not, but I would say that the results are the results, and and this is a results based league. If you don't get the results, you're not going to have a job. Period. So I wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of Nick Sorensen, but I think he's going to be a scapegoat because I don't think there was any defensive coordinator that was going to make a winner out of these guys, that was going to make a good defense out of these guys. I just don't. I don't think they had the players to be a good defense. I don't think they had the players to begin with to be a good defense. So we can sit there and talk about hold people to task, but that's not going to get those tackles made. It's not. Like, I mean, you can just keep running through guys and keep turning and burning, but that's not going to get those tackles made because the talent level is the talent level. So it is what it is. Like they're gonna try. They're gonna make some moves in the offseason. I'm sure of it. I don't think they're gonna be the moves that we want them to make because that is the 49ers. And it is what it is. I hope they do. I hope they do. But if I've been paying attention to this team the way that I think I've been paying attention to this team and the way that I've seen them make moves, if they do make a move, it's gonna be and they make some splashy move. It's not gonna. What splashy move have they made on defense that has, at least on the defensive line, has really worked out? I mean, they drafted Kinlaw, bust. They brought in Hargrave, really not a good fit for what they're trying to do. They bring in Malik Collins, flashes but inconsistent. Uh, Floyd, not really a fit in this defense. Like not really a fit. Like can't really hold it down against the run. And it wasn't terrible. He was gonna get his numbers because that's what he does. But he's not that guy. Gross Matos couldn't stay healthy. I mean, we could go down the line. Like we could go down the line of all of them. Bosa, even. Like we could talk about Bosa. Bosa, I mean, he got quite a bit of like. I mean, he got some sacks this season, but for the most part, I would say he got rendered almost useless at times. And it was. And are we gonna blame? Are we gonna blame Sorensen for that? I I don't know. I think he was hurt for a majority of the season. But yeah, like and then the linebacker spot, like I'm not even going to. Devondre Campbell has been terrible from game one all the way through the season. So he could have taken him out and put in D Winter. D Winters got hurt game two, and then what? You gonna put Flanagan Foles out? We know he's terrible. We know he's terrible. So Flanagan, and then after that, what? You got Tatum Bethune. You got another rookie, or got some other people that you're going to bring in. Like, I mean, the reality is the reality. What that was. Uh, And yeah, he isn't coding the nuisances, the scheme, the nuance. I'm thinking it was the nuances. The schemes are too vanilla, or he isn't picking and playing the right people. All of that is possible, but this is my point when I say this is that you've got to look at it as a whole, because this is the thing. You've got injuries. You've got and we can say, oh, we can't blame it on injuries. Okay. Like, he's got guys in position, they're just not making plays. Okay, that's his fault for not inspiring them to make the plays. Like, the at what point is does the player take some blame? And you can shuffle through players all you want to. You're never going to have consistency. You're never going to have continuity. Like, it just comes down to it's just not. I think that this defense wasn't fixable. You tell me, were these linebackers ever going to be good with Fred Warner and the Pips? Because that's really what it was this all season long. It was Fred Warner and the Pips, and Fred Warner was trying to overcompensate with a broken foot for the Pips, because the Pips weren't good enough. I said it earlier in the show that I really think that the scheme itself, there is a razor thin margin of error. And you have to have the players to run it correctly. If you don't, it's going to look ugly, and it's not going to be good enough, because they're relying on everything to go perfectly, because you're only rushing 4 most of the time. So if you're not getting the pressure that you need, you're trusting that the back end is going to be perfect and hold perfect coverage, and that's just not that's not going to get it done. So then you want to dial up pressure, okay, but then you're going to leave holes in coverage, and you've got guys that aren't used to blitzing. You don't even have guys that are good at blitzing, because Hafanga didn't come back until when? And I really feel like he's like one of the few people that was actually good at blitzing, and they didn't even use him that way. And then he got a concussion today. I don't even know if he's going to be if he's an answer at all for this team. Like, so the more you go down the rabbit hole, you want to talk about 5 whys, the more you go down the rabbit hole, the more you kind of have to throw your hands up at some point and just say, it just wasn't their year. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at it at this point. I don't really think that you can give a scapegoat, because you look at, if you go down player for player and start looking down the rabbit hole, it's just one after another. It's just, oh, this guy only played a couple games. This guy only played a couple of games. You got a rookie playing on the other side of Charvarius Ward. Yes, he was good, but he's a rookie. So he's gonna have coverage bust from here and there, which is exactly what happened. Like, I loved Renardo Green. I think he played great. Still got coverage bust from time to time. It's not up for debate. It's on the tape. Like, I love Mustafa. Had some coverage busts. Like, inconsistent play. D. Winters is the first time starting this season. Inconsistent, because these are all young players that need reps, and they need playing time to be more consistent. When Dre Greenlaw first started starting for the 49ers, we all said that he was inconsistent. He was inconsistent in coverage, and he wasn't thought of the way Greenlaw is thought of today. So it's a process. It's a process, and I don't want to put it all on Nick Sorensen. Like, that's all. I think that the players have a big part to play in that. But I would send you a link right now, but I've got to get going. I've already been on for over an hour. And he said, but I am going to put your comments in there. I told you Kyle's not inspirational and motivational. Winning seasons or breaking even or better is on the head coach. I told you in the preseason, Mike Tomlin has never asked for excuses, just execute. But he didn't execute. Like, before this season, he was a also ran. He was a also ran. Yes, they made the playoffs, but what was his record when he was making the playoffs? Like, this is the thing. I'm not making excuses for Kyle. I have already I have already said what I said about Kyle earlier in the show. I think he has much work to do in this offseason. Uh, However, you have to give him credit for the culture that they built and the fact that he made it to the Super Bowl with a Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. Whatever you think of Jimmy Garoppolo, whatever you think of Jimmy Garoppolo, whatever you think of Brock Purdy, Kyle has made it to 2 Super Bowls with those guys. The only time Mike Tomlin has made it to a Super Bowl was with a pretty much a Hall of Fame quarterback. And that was way back when 16 years ago. Now, this year isn't over yet, but I would say with what I saw today, they're not going to do it this year either. So I think I'm pretty safe to say that. I think that it's all relative when you're looking at it from right when it's right in front of your face. When you're looking at what's right in front of you, it's easy to make statements that, hey, this is it. Until you start scraping the surface and start saying, oh, but this guy was hurt. This guy was inconsistent. When I really think about it, this guy was in position multiple times that, like, oh my God, he had to deal with Devondre Campbell being in that position all year long. Oh my God, Javarius Ward, what's going on with him? They're having to rotate in. Yadam didn't end up being as good as people thought he was going to be. All these pieces all these dominoes start happening with Kyle. It's a scheme thing. I talked about it earlier, and hopefully you're still listening, Terradome. But the what I said earlier about Kyle is that this team has no identity, and that absolutely 100% is Kyle's fault. But the reason why he has no identity is it's wishy washy. It's wishy washy offense. He's got his toe dipped into passing game. He's got his toe dipped into the run game. There is no consistency. There is no I'm hanging my hat on the run game. I'm like, we gonna run the ball regardless. Or we're gonna pass the ball regardless. There is no they on from one game to another, they're doing different game plans. So at that point, your identity is you're wishy-washy. So that's the identity of this team this year, is that they're wishy-washy on offense. And then on defense, they didn't have their main pieces. Their defensive line wasn't good enough. At their linebacking core was bad. It was bad. Regardless of who was in there. Except for the one game where Greenlaw played, they looked really good. But other than that, it was inconsistent play all year long. So we can say, oh, it's the coach. Okay, you bring somebody else in, that's fine. I'm cool with whatever. But I'm not. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Kyle went to another place and resurrected that team. Harbaugh resurrecting the Chargers, which I don't know if you can call it really resurrecting. They weren't too far. They weren't too far away. It wasn't like when he got to the 49ers, but the cupboard wasn't bare when he got to the 49ers. Harbaugh is what Harbaugh is. He's gonna be one of those guys that gets you just good. He's just good enough. He's going to get you to be just good enough to be excited about it. And that's what Kyle is, I feel like, is he gets you just good, excited enough. He's good enough to get you excited about the team, but you can't get over the hump because he's got fundamental issues with the way he thinks about offense. He's got fundamental issues the way he thinks about drafting, about the guys that he wants to draft. I'm a believer that he shouldn't have anything to do with drafting at all. I think 8 years in, I think we've seen enough. But anyway, so, and like you said, so it's on. Well, I just answered that one. Bad football is bad football. Absolutely, bad football is bad football. But when we're talking about blame, if when we're talking about blame is you can pass the blame around to everybody. So, and no losing seasons. I mean, okay, well, we're just talking about Kyle being just good enough. Is that what you want? Just mediocrity? Because it's not like he made the playoffs every single one of those seasons. He didn't. So it's not that I don't think he's a good coach. I'm not saying that Mike Tomlin isn't a good coach. I'm just saying that he is. If he was on the 49ers, if he was the 49ers head coach, he would have been fired already. I think that he benefits because he plays for the Steelers. Just that organization does not like to get rid of their coaches, and it just is what it is. I think at many other stops he would have been fired already. I that's just my opinion. It's not that he's not a good coach. There's a lot of decent coaches that have been fired because they couldn't get it done quick enough. And that's what I would say about Tomlin is it's been 15 years. And when was the last time they were even close? And we're going to say that he couldn't find a quarterback. Nobody could find him a quarterback. But, I mean, he doesn't have any say in any of it. I mean, some of those decisions were his. So he's a part of that too. That's all I'm saying. If we're going to hold Kyle accountable for all these things, you've got to hold Tomlin accountable for the fact that he can't get it done either. He got it done 15 years ago, 16 years ago now. But yes, Tomlin has a ring from 16 years ago. I mean, I was 16 years ago. I had just turned 30, so and the rings, fourth down, going for it on your side of the field. I don't know what you're talking about, Steve-O, but yeah, this is the thing. I think that is a beneficiary stat of playing for Pittsburgh. Not to say that it's easy to do. I'm not saying that you don't give him his flowers for having that many winning seasons. Like, hats off to you. I'm not putting him on my Mount Rushmore by any stretch. I put him up there with the Schottenheimers and those types of coaches. Even though Schottenheimer didn't get a ring, I put him up there because Schottenheimer always had good. He always got teams so far, and that's what I think of when I think of Tomlin. I think that he was a beneficiary, of that team that was already built before he got there. He had a quarterback, all of that. He had everything ready to go, defense, all of it, and yeah, and then we didn't. And then it wasn't again. It didn't happen again. It just slowly but surely went downhill until mediocrity, and they've been mediocre ever since. That's the way I feel about Mike Tomlin. Nothing. No shade. I don't think. Hey, hats off to you. Hats off to you, Mike Tomlin, for being able to picking the right job. And getting your ring and riding that ring till the wheels fall off. Hey, just like I would compare him to what's his name, the head coach for the Bucks in the NBA. What's his name? Doc Rivers. He got his ring. He's been riding that ring ever since. And he's had good teams. He's had good teams. So. But I wish I could get to all this, but I got to get going. Yeah, I got to get going. I wish I could keep going, but yeah, and I wish I could bring you on Terror Dome. We got to set up a show. We're gonna have to set up a show, and we'll have to set up a show. Maybe I've got another one this Thursday. So hopefully it's Thursday as long as work works out. Maybe Friday, but maybe we'll plan a show and we can talk it out. We got nothing but time, bro. We ain't got nothing but time. They 49ers are out of they are not in the playoffs this year. Is what it is. 49ers go down 47-24 to the Arizona Cardinals, ending their season gracefully, not gracefully to be honest, but I want to say that I appreciate everybody that has rocked with the show this year and this season. I appreciate all of you. I'm going to still keep going all the way through the offseason. We still going to talk about what the 49ers can do. We're going to start looking at free agency. We're going to start looking at the draft, even though the 49ers aren't going to pick who we think they are. But we're still going to look at it. We're going to come up with a shadow draft for the draft for who I think the 49ers should pick. Will they? Probably not, but it is what it is. But we're going to get into the thick of it. I'm going to have people on. We're going to talk about it. But I appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure you give the video a like. Make sure that you give it a subscribe. Make sure that you hit the bell so you get the notifications for when I go live. And I'm on Twitter. I am on Twitch. I am on Facebook. I am on YouTube, of course. And I'm anywhere where you can get your audio podcast. There is no excuse. If you want to hear real football, and talk about real football, and not talk to somebody that cares about is trying to make people happy about what they're trying to hear and all the other stuff, you're in the right place, because we're gonna talk through it, and we're gonna talk about stuff that's probably gonna make you mad, but that's what it's all about. It's about talking through these peeling back the layers and finding out, getting to those root causes of why we are where we are in the moment. Even when we're winning, we got to get to those root causes and see where the team can improve. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys, and I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great rest of your evening. Enjoy the playoffs. I know I will, now that they will be anxiety free. But yeah, y'all have a great evening. Go Niners.